Refugees constitute one of the world's most vulnerable populations. Beyond disease, natural storms, and warfare that drives them from their homes, refugees face the rejection of many foreign governments. In their journey to resettle, jihadist organizations lurk to further exploit their vulnerabilities, seeking to turn them into weapons of war. Fleeing on barges and by land, refugees pour into Europe. With refugees now integrating into Western European communities, tensions and frictions have inevitably arose. The four main subsystems of the issue are the host government, the origins of the refugees themselves, and the radicalizing organizations. This creates a huge potential population for radicalization. There are as many as 13.5 million Syrians in need of humanitarian assistance, over 4.8 million internationally displaced, and about 1 million spread across Europe. To maximize its social surface area, radical organizations have local cells all throughout Europe and the conflict areas, ready to recruit and further their ideals through indirect means such as websites and social groups. One of the main advocates for an open policy is Angela Merkel of Germany. She, despite controversies, have led the way on opening the doors of Germany to more than 250,000 refugees. Because of this mismatch of aims and interests, members of the EU cannot act independently. This makes it difficult for one government to establish any one policy and enforce it across the EU, as refugees pass through borders outside of their control. Perhaps the last piece of the puzzle are the refugees themselves. Ongoing civil wars, such as the one in Syria or conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq, destabilizes governments, thus creating refugees and open vulnerabilities within the social fabrics for radical organizations to take hold amidst the vacuum.
There are many stakeholders in the problem of refugee radicalization. Initially, the refugee crisis seems to be a superficial problem, but after some analysis, the root problem is that the radicals are a powerful influence apparatus. The most effective way to limit the radicalization abilities of radical organizations is to curb their information flow. To curb the flow of information from the apparatus, EUCOM must secure the cooperation of the host countries to stem the information flow from the radical organizations while respecting each country's sovereignty. Refugees are particularly susceptible during the transit, pre-entry, and post-entry phases. Refugee centers such as Camp Zaatari in Jordan, which is the principal settling place for refugees before their entry to the EU, often lack basic sanitary systems and are far away from cities, holding close to 100,000 people. Refugees, especially adolescents, are idle, therefore vulnerable to influences because many are looking for a sense of purpose. After entry, the failure of the integration process has also contributed significantly to the risk of radicalizations. Ground cells embedded within the communities, such as Molenbeek and Brussels, often sell joining the jihad as a holy mission that would promise salvation. Like within the refugee camps in Jordan, the radicals are focused on their ability to spread their influences. Government agencies have no idea what is being said because there is no digital traceability and not enough intelligence sharing between the EU nations. Each of the immigration agencies, along with Frontex, can become more efficient as well through greater cooperation. This is the problem of bureaucracy. On the broadest scale, the EU is a union of 28 member states that is governed by the European Commission, the European Council, and the European Parliament. Therefore, countries, each complete with their own set of executive and legislative branches that legislate with their own interests in mind. This tries to compel them with EU legislation as well as enforce their laws, which often leads to conflicting results. In essence, the refugee crisis has become a bureaucratic problem. An example of this is when Germany, a pro-immigration country, had to process over 13,000 refugees because Greece and Frontex failed to carry out proper background checks as part of their area of responsibility, leading to a massive delay in the in-processing of refugees. Only 3,000 of the initial wave were able to be processed efficiently. The rest were exposed to radicalization risks while in the holding camps. Integration process more efficient will not only ease the life of the refugees, but will also shorten the time frame for radicalization opportunities.
Our value model, along with the stakeholder analysis, clearly showed some overlapping of jurisdictions and conflicts of interest of the different stakeholders. The primary functions of the system will be to help EUCOM bridge these gaps of inefficiencies between countries and assist where European agencies might lack the budget to carry out their responsibility effectively, such as many southern areas under Frontex's jurisdiction. There are numerous ways to reduce refugee radicalization. To through the feasibility screening process. Our 5 solution aims at 4 main areas of focus, including bridging national differences by brokering dialogues, advising refugee post-entry efforts, helping EU counterparts with camp security operations, and produce and sharing timely intelligence with allies agencies. Solution 1 serves as a catalyst for broker dialogues amongst EU countries. Solution 1 will advise with post-entry efforts through improvements in refugee education. We aim to hire additional teachers with English-speaking ability, build 50 classrooms, and add 10 recreational facilities. These teachers will be put through the Teacher Effectiveness Training Program designed to facilitate refugee education. Lastly, there will be a new intelligence center dedicated to intelligence gathering and will produce insightful reports to European immigration agencies. The total is $16.51 million, which is within the current crisis relief budget of $20 million. Solution 2 aims to build a coalition of potential countries for resettlement and improve the in-processing. Identifying and realizing potential resettlement alternatives would offer more space, relieving stress on current refugee-intensive countries such as Greece and Germany. It may make in-processing smoother by hiring additional security staff and improve medical screening processes. UConn will provide 20,000 medical screening kits and provide doctors with a tailored refugee medical screening program. Lastly, communication centers will serve as a hub for all international communication by providing translation and summary of documents. This solution will cost about $19.9 million. This makes Solution 2 the most expensive option. Solution 3 involves motivating European involvement, compiling an extensive database of refugees and improve relationships between international agencies. The database will serve as a collection of biometric data on all refugees so we can identify lawbreakers or potential radicals. Lastly, improving relationships between international agencies would create more trust and cooperation. This would sum to about $12.99 million. Solution 3 is the cheapest of the 5 solutions. Solution 4 aims to improve international cooperation by dialogue with the leaders of the origin countries such as Syria and Afghanistan. We'll also use our military resources and assist in military actions through contractors in raiding radical camps and prosecute targets. We'll also use our military resources and assist in military actions through contractors in raiding radical camps and prosecute targets. Post-entry refugees will enter the cultural training centers and schools and be exposed to Western culture and ideals. This will lessen the cultural shock and better background check enables faster employment. This will cost about $19 million. Our last alternative includes investing in anti-radicalization publication material, building long-term sustainability housings, and provide vocational training and advice to shorten the red tape. The anti-radicalization material will include newspapers and publications. This will make the refugees more aware and less susceptible to radical agents. Long-term housing will provide stability for refugees at an affordable price for host countries. Vocational training will eliminate idleness and improve European bureaucracy, and regulations will make it faster for refugees to in-process, thus lessening the exposure risk. At the same time, compiling intelligence inferences from the joint intelligence centers, it will cost about $19.66 million. In sum, these 5 potential solutions aim at bridging the differences between countries, improve post-entry situations, bolster security at camps, and ensure better intelligence is provided to relevant agencies. Overall, these changes would help decrease the present threat of refugee radicalization, providing safety for host communities and refugee alike.
On behalf of the Department of Systems Engineering and our team, we thank you very much for your attention to our potential solutions, and we would love to hear your feedback on our analysis. And we encourage you to read our full analysis, which can be found at www.westpoint.edu/systems engineering.